All right, continuing on our water talk. Today, I'm going to talk about observational tests on your farm. So we do have several tests for water on poultry farms. The first one is observational tests. It means that we need to do some tests on water appearance, water taste, water smell, and then we can decide what kind of analysis we want to get from the lab or we want to run on our farm. So after this step, we will have on-farm tests. It means that we are going to introduce some tools that you can use on your farm to test the water. They are really cheap and available. And if needed, you can send out your water sample to a lab to get its analysis. And I'll talk about that in my next video. But before doing that, we need to see what are we going to investigate and invest on. It means that if we are going to send our water sample to a lab, what kind of analysis we would like them to run for us. So if we know that by doing observational tests, that would be great and that would save for us, money. So by that, let's get started. So water observational tests on poultry farms. So the first thing we need to know is where to look at. If we are going to run a observational test, the first thing is to look at the water appearance. You can just pour some water, get some water sample from different locations, from water source, from beginning of the drinker line, from end of the drinker line, from the water tank, and just look at its appearance. And you need to compare the water sample from the water source, like from the well, with the water source from the poultry house. And I talked about this in my previous video. The next thing is to look at bathtub. It's really important. Sometimes you can see some stains over there. For example, you need to pay attention to the stain color. If it is pink, it shows that maybe your water has some bacterial contamination like Pseudomonas. Or if you see there is build-up scales over there, maybe it shows that your water is hard and you need to treat the water properly. So, before conducting any observational test, we need to be aware of any environmental conditions going on around our farm. For example, if you see heavy rain, flooding, droughts, row crop farming, mining, fracking, and any damage to the wellhead or any damage to your water system, then you need to conduct some tests. For example, on your farm, you can use some tools that I'm going to introduce in my next video to test water pH, ORP. ORP stands for oxidation reduction potential, and I'll talk about that specifically about that in my next video. So the idea is ORP shows your water power to kill the pathogens. If your water ORP is high enough, it means that is above 650 millivolt, it shows that your water has the potential to kill the pathogens. And as I mentioned, I will dive more deeply into that in my next video. Turbidity and salinity. These are some tests that we need to run on our water on farm. Then we need to send out our water sample to a lab and request a basic analysis. Basic analysis is like pH, total bacteria, and coliforms. And I'll talk about this test in my next videos, where I will be talking about water microbiological tests. And request a mineral test like manganese, iron, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, sodium, chloride. We need to have an idea about that. And remember, without knowing your water mineral content, if we are going to use any water treatment, we are fighting in the dark. It means that water mineral content can affect the efficacy of our water treatment, of the sanitizers and products that we are going to use to treat the water. So that's why we really need to have a good understanding about our water minerals. So the first thing is to look at appearance of water. If you see your water has a cloudy or milky appearance, or there are some tiny bubbles in water and it has cloudy and fizzy appearance, then maybe it shows the presence of some dissolved gases, such as carbon dioxide, air, methane, and hydrogen sulfide in your water. Sometimes you are noticing water hammer in your pipelines. Water hammer is like shock wave noise. For example, sometimes when you are using the water, you see there is a shock wave noise in your pipelines, like this. It means that your pipelines, are shaking. So it shows that there is air or some gases inside your water. And the solution is aeration, oxidation. I'll talk about specifically about oxidation, how we can oxidize, pathogens or some minerals, filtration, and these solutions actually depend on the gas source. So if we know the gas source, then we can treat our water. Here is a video, really short video. You can see aeration. It means that running the water from a height, so the water can splash and you can get rid of those dissolved gases. All right, we talked about filtration. This is a picture of water filtration system. It's a media filtration and it uses glass media. I got this picture from a friend who is a producer, and water can pass through the filtration system like this to remove solids from the water. For example, to remove small particles, sediments, iron, chlorine, organic materials. We can get rid of those stuff by using the water filtration system. What else? You need to run a separate test. It means that you need to collect a water sample in a glass and let it sit for minutes to hours. And look at the changes. If the color of your water turns gray, purple, or black, it shows that your water might have high amount of manganese. Then you need to request a basic analysis and also mineral analysis, and specifically ask the lab to measure manganese in your water. If that was the problem and your water manganese was high, then there are some solutions. For example, you can oxidize your water with chlorine, chlorine dioxide, or ozone, and then filter it using green sand filtration. Then you can get rid of the extra manganese in your water. Or you can use reverse osmosis, ion exchange system, aeration and filtration. So these are some solutions if your water has confirmed to have high amount of manganese. So if you let your water sit in a glass for a while and then you see the color turns yellow, brown, or reddish brown, in that case, it might have high amount of iron. Again, you need to send out your water sample to a lab requesting basic analysis plus mineral analysis, especially iron. And if it was confirmed that your water has a high amount of iron, then we have some solutions like oxidation with chlorine, chlorine dioxide, or ozone, and then filtration. Or you can shock chlorinate your well if you are using well as a water source. I will be posting a link up here so you can look at the shock chlorination protocol for well. I talked about that in my previous video. All right. The next thing about water observational tests is to look at the residue, like stains, film, or scales in your water line. If you see pink, brown, reddish brown stains in your water line, or I said, even on your bathtub, request Pseudomonas analysis. But general labs, general water labs, usually do not run this analysis. They are just running, basic analysis like water pH, water hardness, some mineral test, and some general microbiological test. If you are going to look at a specific germ like Pseudomonas, then you need to send out your water sample to a diagnostic lab. And here you can see how it looks like, the brown and reddish brown scale in your water system. If you see black stains or film or scales in your water line, then request iron and manganese analysis. And if their levels are high in your water, then you need to oxidize them using chlorine, chlorine dioxide, or ozone, and then filter it with proper sized mechanical filtration. Or specifically, I talked about this, if your water manganese is high, you can use, again, the oxidation method or reverse osmosis, ion exchange system, or aeration and filtration to get off manganese. And remember again, I will tell you this again and again. Iron and manganese are red flags in your water system. If you have high amount of iron and manganese, they are going to create you so many problems because they are feeding pathogen bacteria. So if the stains or film or scale in your water system is gray, then it might be because of elevated hardness and alkalinity. In that case, again, you can use reverse osmosis, you can use ion exchange, but remember, if you are going to use ion exchange system, you need to pay attention to your water sodium level. And if your water sodium level is high, then you shouldn't use ion exchange unless instead of sodium chloride in your ion exchange system, potassium chloride is being used. Then, yeah, you can use ion exchange with potassium chloride inside that when your water sodium level is high. If you see yellow or brown scales or film inside your water line, it might be because of high iron. So, you know, here, for example, you can see a picture. Over there, we can see biofilms inside the water line. But I will talk about this more specifically in biofilm cleaning video. Biofilm is the combination of build-up scales from minerals and the pathogens. So they are going to build a community called biofilm. So again, if you send out your water sample to a lab and it's confirmed that your water iron is high, again, you can use oxidation method or reverse osmosis or shock chlorination of well. Because if your water iron is high, it's gonna feed pathogen bacteria and you're gonna get rid of that. If you see blue stains, film, or scales, it might be because of high copper in your water. Again, the solution for high copper is to use reverse osmosis or ion exchange system to get rid of high copper. Usually in water reports, copper is not reported. So that's why you need to specifically ask about copper if you see blue stains or film in your water line. So make sure to ask for it if you are seeing this sign. Then we need to look at the water taste and odor. If you can see musty smell or musty taste, maybe it's because of high sulfur. And as I talked before, the solution should be shock chlorination of well, because if you have hydrogen sulfide producing bacteria, they need, sulfur, and they can create a rotten egg smell, and it's gonna compromise your bird's health. If you see fruity or sweet smell or taste in your water, it can be because of herbicides or pesticide residues. Then we need to, again, double check the environmental conditions. If you see metallic sheen on your water or metallic taste, it could be because of iron. And again, we need to confirm this by sending out our water sample to a lab. The other thing about observational tests is really look at the piping materials. Because if you are using low density polyethylene materials, as your piping system, in your piping system, they are quite porous. It means that if you look inside if you feel inside the water line, it's not really smooth enough. And you can, especially if you use magnifier, you can see it has porous texture, and it's a good place to build biofilm. So you are putting yourself, your water system, at the risk of biofilm. Or I talked about this in water system maintenance video. If you are seeing sagging area on your water line, it means that your water line is not even and there is some sagging area. So then again, it can increase the risk of getting biofilm and building biofilm in your system. So these are some tips that we really need to pay attention when we are running observational tests on our water system. So by that, again, please feel free to share these videos with your peers, and I'm going to continue our discussion about water, on-farm water test, lab test, biofilm monitoring and control, and other water cleaning protocols in my next videos. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are, and by that, take care.